Alright folks, confession time. I made a mistake. As you can see, it says right and left on these two parts. Well, I just wrote that down maybe 20-30 minutes ago. Prior to that, I didn't have that written down, and unfortunately, I installed the left on the right side and right on the left side. Generally on this airplane, you can figure everything out. Generally, the holes won't match. Something's up. Well, unfortunately, this time I didn't find it till I was pretty far along. The flanges are the same. So there's a flange on that end. There's a flange on that end. The flanges on both of these point the same direction. I probably can't see, but just trust me. Everything's identical. If you rotate this one around, now when you go to the other side, the flanges point inboard. The flanges point inboard. Everything's hunky-dory. Looks like it should work, right? Well, the problem is when I went to install this, the floorboard, which give me just a second here, I'll get it installed temporarily. So when I install this the final time, this lip has to go underneath there, and boy, is that tight. So I discovered that these holes here did not line up. They're not off by much, but they're off by just a little bit. And unfortunately, when I put Clecos in these holes and these holes here, these holes were off. So what I ended up having to do is drill all the holes out, drill all the rivets out. There's two on the front side here. There's two on the back side there, and then all of these along the bottom skin, and to get it out. Those were easy. The front on the firewall was easy. Those two were quite a bear to get out. And as you can tell, I kind of marred up some of the primer as I was getting it out there. So anyway, you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Things happen. Generally everything is fixable and reversible, just a matter of how much time. I probably spent 2.5 hours today fixing it. I did ask Van's aircraft real nicely if I could simply re-drill the holes in the rib, and they said, yeah, no, we don't make oval rivets, so therefore you can't have oval holes. Thought it was quite humorous, but I digress. So anyway, over the last week or two, we've worked on last week, I've worked on doing all the deburring and scuffing and countersinking. See all those countersunk? There's a million countersunk holes. Dimpling some of the parts. That there is all the left side parts, and then underneath there's the two aft skins there, and then underneath that's the parts for the right side for this forward fuselage area. I am glad that I found my little error now rather than finding it later, because finding it later would have been a real pain in the rear. Because now I can get here, but in the next week I would be having to come up and over the top and to be drilling out all those things and fixing this little problem. So I'm glad I found it now. I still need to dimple and countersink a whole bunch of holes. Like all of those holes I know have to be countersunk on that plate, and that bulkhead, and the other bulkheads. So I still got quite a bit of work before I start assembly. Maybe by midweek I should start assembly. Russ is probably going to come over and help me one day because some of this riveting requires two people, because it'll require one of us to be inside the airplane and the other one of us to be outside of the airplane. I will probably also enlist his help to help me rivet down. I could do some of these myself, but that's just so much easier to do with two people. Because as you can see over here, if I remember correctly, oh no, that flange is facing me, so I probably can do most of that myself. I may need his help on one or two of them, just because it's easier. But otherwise, I should be able to knock that out fairly quickly. Anyway, hopefully next week we'll have the fuselage sides on, and we'll be figuring out what we're doing next. So, till next time.